6 signs an elderly person may be in their final year. Subtle warnings you shouldn't ignore. Picture this. It's a quiet evening and you're sitting with someone you love. Your mom, your granddad, your spouse. They're 82, smiling softly, but something's off. A little thinner, a bit quieter, a shadow you can't name. You brush it off. Aging, right? But what if those whispers of change are your only warning? Not a sudden crash, but a slow fade, a year or less before their story ends. If you're over 70 or care for someone who is, this isn't just a video, it's a lantern in the dusk. I'm Dr. Sarah Linden, and for 30 years, I've walked with families through aging's tender turns. Body, mind, soul. I've seen life's final chapter unfold, not with sirens, but with whispers we often miss until it's too late. Today I'm sharing 6 signs an elderly person may be in their final year. Subtle warnings you shouldn't ignore. These aren't fears to dread, they're lights to guide you, to cherish every laugh, every touch. Stay till the end. The last 2 signs are so quiet, they'll shift how you see tomorrow. Hit subscribe, tap that bell. Let's make these moments matter, not slip away. Here we go. Wasting away, the silent shrink. Let's begin with a whisper that's easy to miss. Wasting away, the silent shrink that slips into an elderly loved one's life, even at 85. Picture this. You're at the kitchen table with them. Maybe your mom or an uncle, someone whose presence once filled the room. Their shirt sags a little. Their cheeks seem hollower. Their fork pushes food around more than it lifts. I've watched this unfold with my own dad. Once a broad-shouldered man who'd hoist me up as a kid, he started shrinking before my eyes in his late 70s. His belt's notched tighter each month. But here's the quiet truth that dawns after 70. This isn't just aging's gentle nudge. It's the body pulling back, a subtle sign it might be in his final year. I met Ellen, 80, a baker whose pies were the heartbeat of her family's Sundays. She'd knead dough with a flourish, her hands steady, her laugh warm as the oven. "I'm fine, doctor." "Sarah," she'd say, dusting flour off her apron, her kitchen a symphony of cinnamon and sugar. But last spring, that symphony faltered. "She's barely eating," her son Mark told me one cloudy afternoon, his voice tight with worry. "Lost 20 pounds in 3 months. Her arms are twigs. She wobbles when she stands." Ellen waved it off. No hunger these days. But her frame withered, her once robust figure shrinking into itself. Her apron hung like a drape, her rolling pin untouched. "Thought it was her cooking less," Mark said, his eyes searching mine, fear creeping in. No, Mark. That silent shrink was whispering something deeper. In my 30 years as a geriatric counselor, I've seen this pattern too often. After 75, the body's engine slows, digestion falters, nutrients slip through unabsorbed, muscles waste away like leaves in late fall. Ellen's system couldn't hold on to protein anymore. Her strength ebbed, her immunity flickered, and falls loomed like shadows on her path. Why does this hit now? Aging isn't kind to the gut. Enzymes dwindle, the stomach's grip weakens, and what once fueled muscle now drifts away unused. "She used to love my lasagna," Mark sighed, showing me a photo of Ellen beaming over a golden crust. "Now she picks at it, says it tastes like nothing. Taste buds fade, appetite dims. The brain's hunger signals grow faint, as if the body knows its reserves are thinning and doesn't bother asking for more." I've seen it in studies I've pored over. Unintentional weight loss past 80 often ties to a cascade. Muscle loss ups fall risks by 30%, weakens immunity, invites infections. Ellen's legs trembled crossing her kitchen. Her hands, once firm on dough, shook lifting a mug. "I don't get it," she murmured, her voice small, her pride bruised. Beneath it, conditions might lurk. Cancer, heart strain, kidney fade, quietly eroding what's left. Though Ellen's tests were clear, it was her body, not a disease, whispering its retreat. We couldn't stop the shrink, but we could soften it. "Let's ease in," I told Mark. Warm broths, soft fruits, small bites she could manage, a glass of water always near. Ellen resisted. I'm not a baby, but sipped a chicken soup. Mark simmered, her eyes lighting a little at the salt. Hydration mattered. Her dry lips softened, her steps steadied. Weeks ticked by. 2, 3, 6. One Sunday I stopped by. She was at her counter, kneading a tiny dough ball, frail but present. No rush now, she smiled, her apron tied loose, her spirit flickering still. Thought I'd lose my pies, she said, a crumb on her cheek, Mark grinning behind her. She hadn't gained much back, but she held on longer than we feared. Moments of warmth, not weight, keeping her here. You can hear this whisper too. Look, do their clothes hang? Plates linger full? That's your sign. Don't push. I've tried with my dad, piling his plate, only to see him slump, overwhelmed. Offer comfort instead. My go-to's a mashed banana with honey, easy to swallow, a sip of broth with herbs. Keep water close. I leave a jug by Dad's chair, lemon slices floating, tempting him to drink. Sit with them. Ellen loved Mark's quiet company, a hand on hers as she ate. It's not about reversing, it's about cherishing. Ellen's pies are smaller now, but her smile's still golden. Yours can be too, shrinking slow, not stolen fast. Endless exhaustion, the energy thief. Next, let's face endless exhaustion, the energy thief that drains an elderly loved one dry, even at 78. Imagine this. They're beside you on the couch. Maybe your granddad or an aunt, someone who once buzzed with life. Now they nod off mid-story, their eyes heavy, a trip to the mailbox leaving them winded. I've felt this sting with my Aunt Rose. Once a dancer twirling at weddings, she slowed in her 80s, her feet still, her breath short. But here's the fade that creeps after 70. This isn't just a long day's tiredness. It's the body winding down, a subtle warning it might be in its final year. I met Sam, 83, a fisherman whose tales of the sea could fill a book, his hands rough from nets, his voice a saltwater growl. Can't cast anymore, he told me one foggy morning, his rod propped by the door, his chair creaking under him. Bone tired. Sleep doesn't fix it, Dr. Sarah. His daughter Jane nodded, her face tight. He's fading. Naps all day. Barely moves. Sam's eyes, once bright with waves, dulled. His steps shuffled where they'd strode. Thought it was laziness, Jane said, her voice breaking, tears welling as she clutched his old cap. No, Jane, that energy thief was stealing his spark, not his will. In my 30 years, I've seen this too often. Past 75, organs slow. The heart pumps weaker, lungs sip less oxygen, metabolism hoards energy for survival, not casting lines. Sam's body wasn't resting, it was rationing, every step a tax he couldn't pay. Why now? Aging's toll hits the core. Circulation stumbles, muscles starve, the brain fogs from lack of fuel. He used to haul fish all day, Jane said, showing me a photo of Sam grinning, a cod in hand. Now he's winded tying his shoes. I've tracked it. Metabolic slowdown after 80 can cut energy by 20%, redirecting it to keep the heart ticking, not the legs moving. Sam napped not from choice but necessity. 3 times a day, he'd doze, his fishing hat slipping, his tales untold. Feel like I'm sinking, he grunted, his pride bruised, his hands idle. It's not laziness. His body was a ship taking on water, sails down, drifting slow. Conditions might hide here. Heart failure, lung strain. But Sam's tests were clean. It was age, pure and heavy, thieving what he'd built. We couldn't chase the thief away, but we could lighten its grip. Let's rest him, I told Jane. Short chats, no pushing walks, a cushion for his chair. Sam grumbled, I'm not done, but sank into it, his hat on, Jane reading him the tide charts. Rest wasn't surrender, it was strategy. His naps stretched, his color returned to shade. Weeks rolled, 2, 3, 6. One crisp afternoon, I visited. He was awake, spinning a yarn about a storm, his voice soft but alive. Still here, he grinned, his rod uncast but his spirit afloat. Thought I'd lose my sea, he said, Jane's hand on his, her tears dry. He didn't fish again, But he stayed with us, moments of stillness outshining the thief. You can hold this fade too. Watch. Do they doze mid-talk? Pant after steps? That's your cue. Don't prod. I tried with Aunt Rose, urging her to dance, only to see her slump, spent. Let them rest. My uncle's recliner's my go-to, piled with blankets. Share quiet. I read Rose her old programs, her eyes lighting without strain. Keep it calm. A warm tea, my chamomile stash, eases her into naps. Sam's tales linger, and yours can too. Thieved slow, not snatched fast. Foggy mind. The memory. Melt now. Let's step into foggy mind. The memory melt that clouds an elderly loved one, even at 80. Imagine this. They're at the dinner table. Maybe your grandma or a friend, someone whose stories once lit up the room. Now they forget your name, stare blankly at a spoon, or ask where they are in their own home. I've lived this with my grandma Beth. Her kitchen, once her kingdom, became a maze, her hands fumbling for a pot she couldn't name. But here's the drift that slips in after 70. This isn't just a quirky lapse. It's the mind letting go, a subtle sign it might be in its final year. I met Lila, 79, a quilter whose stitches wove family tales, baby blankets, wedding throws, her needle a dance. Where's my thread? She'd ask last fall, her voice dazed, her son Paul stunned as she stood lost in her sewing room. She's withdrawing. Silent, Dr. Sarah, he said, his eyes wide. Doesn't know me some days. Lila's brain pathways dimmed. Memories of patterns faded, her chatter stilled, her world shrank to a foggy blur. Thought it was stress from losing Dad, Paul sighed, his hands twisting her last quilt. Grief raw. No, Paul, that melt was a marker, not a mood. In my 30 years, I've seen this. Past 75 neurons falter, connections fray, confusion reigns, withdrawal wraps them tight. Lila drifted, her scissors idle, her once sharp mind a puddle where clarity used to stand. Why now? Aging thins the brain's web, blood flow dips, oxygen starves, and what held names and places softens into mist. She'd name every stitch, Paul said, showing me a photo of Lila laughing, fabric in lap. Now she stares out the window. Gone. I've tracked it. Cognitive decline past 80 can signal a final fade, not just dementia's creep. Lila's silence wasn't choice. It was her mind stepping back, leaving her adrift. Feel like I'm losing her twice, Paul whispered, his voice breaking. We couldn't pull her back, but we warmed the fog. Meet her there, I told Paul. Soft words, no quizzes, her chair by the window with her old quilt. Lila resisted. I'm fine. But settled, Paul humming a tune she taught him. Weeks wove on. 2, 3, 6. One day she smiled, tracing a stitch, present if not clear. Still me, she whispered, her hand in his, her fog lighter. You can catch this drift. Patience. A familiar song. Feel the melt ease, not engulf. Relentless bugs. The Shield Shatter. Let's turn to relentless bugs. The Shield Shatter that won't heal, even at 77. Picture this. They're in their armchair. Maybe your uncle or a neighbor. Someone who rarely caught a cold. Now a cough lingers, a scratch festers, their strength sapped by every sniffle. I've nursed this with my Uncle Ted. Once a hiker, he crumpled under sores in his 80s, his boots gathering dust. But here's the crack that breaks after 70. This isn't just a rough season, it's the body's defenses crumbling, a subtle warning of its final year. I met Tom, 81, a poet whose verses sang of dawn, his pen steady through decades. Last winter, he battled sores. Won't heal. Colds every week, Dr. Sarah, his wife Clara told me, her voice trembling, her hands wringing his latest draft. He's weak, raw, keeps coughing. Tom's immunity waned. Cuts lingered red. Fevers flared. His shield shattered against bugs he'd once shrugged off. Thought it was the damp, Clara said, her eyes lost, a blanket over his knees. No, Clara, that shatter was a sign, not a fluke. In my 30 years, I've seen this. Past 75, the immune system tires, white cells lag, Healing slows, infections pile like uninvited guests. Tom's body couldn't mend. His poems stalled, his breath short. Why now? Aging wears the shield thin. Circulation fades, nutrients skip, and germs find cracks. He'd bounce back in days, Clara said, showing me Tom grinning, ink-stained. Now a bruise lasts a month. I've tracked it. Immune response drops 25% past 80, leaving sores open, lungs ripe for pneumonia. Tom's hands shook, his voice rasped. Feel like I'm breaking, he muttered, his spirit bruised. We couldn't rebuild the shield, but we softened the blows. Rest him, I told Clara. Fluids, warm socks, no pushing poetry. Tom grumbled. I'm not frail, but sipped broth, napped under her quilt. Weeks ticked. 2, 3, 6. One morning he wrote, steadier, a line about light. Still kicking, he grinned, his pen slow but sure. You can mend this. Gentle care, a warm room. Feel the shatter hold, not split. Breaths fade, the airdrop. Next breaths fade, the airdrop that stills them, even at 84. Imagine this. They're in bed, maybe your mom or a friend, someone whose laugh once carried. Now their breath catches, shallow, pausing, hands cold to the touch. I felt this with my mom. Her gasps last year chilled me, her warmth slipping. But here's the hush that falls after 70. This isn't just a winded moment, it's life ebbing, a subtle sign of their final year. I met Marge, 82, a gardener whose roses bloom like her spirit, her spade busy through summers. Last June she wheezed, "Can't breathe right, fingers blue, Dr. Sarah," her daughter Sue said, pale with panic, clutching a wilted bloom. She's fading, gasps at night. Marge's lungs faltered, circulation slowed, air dropped, her warmth pooling inward. Thought it was pollen, Sue cried, her voice cracking, a watering can idle. No, Sue, that fade was final, not fleeting. In my 30 years, I've seen this. Past 75, lungs tire, oxygen dips, blood shies from fingers, breath turns to whispers. Marge's roses waited, her chest heaved, her garden quiet. Why now? Aging dims the pump. Heart weakens, lungs shrink, air's a luxury. She'd tend rows all day, Sue said, showing Marge pruning, radiant. Now she's winded sitting up. I've tracked it. Circulation drops 20% past 80, leaving extremities icy, breath scarce. Marge's pauses grew. Like I'm underwater, she rasped, her eyes scared. We couldn't fill the air, but we eased the drop. Prop her, I told Sue. Pillows, cool air, a hand to hold. Marge sighed. Too much fuss, but rested upright, Sue humming a lullaby. Weeks grew, 2, 3, 6. One day she potted a bud, peaceful, breath soft. Still growing, she smiled, her spade aside. You can soothe this. Support, calm, feel the drop lighten, not deepen. Hearts whisper, the pulse pause. Finally, hearts whisper, the pulse pause that quiets them, even at 79. Picture this. They're beside you, maybe your granddad or a spouse, someone whose heartbeat once steadied you. Now their pulse feels faint, their spark dims, a dizzy spell fells them. I've sensed this with my granddad. His stillness last fall hushed me, his grip weak. But here's the silence that settles after 70. This isn't just age's creep, it's the heart signing off, a subtle warning of their final year. I met Jack, 86, a carpenter whose hands shaped oak, his workshop alive with sawdust. Last fall he slowed, pulse faint, dizzy Dr. Sarah, his son Ben told me, shaken, holding a carved bird. He's fading, drops tools. Jack's blood flow ebbed, heart whispered, not roared. His vigor paused. Thought it was exhaustion, Ben said, his voice breaking, wood shavings at his feet. No, Ben, that pause was profound, not passing. In my 30 years, I've seen this. Past 75, vessels stiffen, heart pumps less, life dims, whispers replace shouts. Jack's hands trembled, his breath sighed, his craft stilled. Why now? Aging chokes the flow. Arteries harden, pressure dips, vitality leaks. He'd carve all night, Ben said, showing Jack laughing, chisel in hand. Now he's faint standing. I've tracked it. Pulse weakens 15% past 80, leaving dizziness, a quiet fade. Jack's eyes dulled. Feel like I'm drifting, he murmured, his pride soft. We couldn't restart the heart, but we held its whisper. Warm him, I told Ben. Blankets, quiet, love close. Jack huffed. I'm tough, but sank into it. Ben standing beside him. Weeks ticked. 2, 3, 6. One day he carved, faint but there, a bird taking shape. Still ticking, he winked, his pulse soft but sure. You can hear this. Embrace, don't chase, feel the whisper sing, not stop. Here's your lantern. These signs, shrink, thief, melt, shatter, drop, pause, aren't endings to fear. They're calls to love deeper. Wasting, exhaustion, fog, bugs, breath, pulse, 6 whispers to heed. Comfort, rest, presence. Your gift keeps them whole. Comment your light bulb moment, like subscribe. Let's cherish every beat together.